There's an old joke that a woman learns everything about a guy within 5 minutes of meeting him. When you walk into your next meeting, your new would-be client has already made up their minds too. It doesn't matter if the meeting lasted an hour and you thought it went great. In those initial 5 minutes, they had already decided if they're going to purchase from you or not. Using our initial judgments are our true thoughts. It's our gut instinct, telling us exactly what we really think and what we really feel. This can obviously scupper your chances of closing a deal if the recipient hasn't liked what they have seen or heard. You don't have to worry though, because, believe it or not, there are methods of how you can make the odds work in your favour. Firstly, I recommend a little trick I have and still implement on a regular basis. This works wonders when cold calling or on skeptical potential clients. Let's set up the scenario. You have just walked into a new store on a cold, rainy morning. The business is family owned and the man behind the counter isn't looking too thrilled to see you. You politely ask for the manager and he replies, "I am the manager. I'm busy. What do you want?" You produce a clock from your pocket or an application on your phone and start the countdown. "Sir, please give me 2 minutes of your valuable time to explain my new product you simply can't refuse." The countdown is a great trick for 2 reasons. Firstly, if you can't explain your product or service within 2 minutes, you simply don't know what you're selling. And secondly, an average human's attention span isn't very long. People don't want a long, drawn-out process. They want the main facts quickly and decisively. He knows if he dislikes what he hears, once the 2 minutes are up, you'll be walking out of the door and on your way. For the potential client, it's simply a no-lose situation, and 9 times out of 10, they will at least give you the opportunity to pitch what you're selling. Now you have a potential client's attention. It's extremely important to be honest and ethical in everything you do and say. Believe it or not, people are not daft. They can sense a chancer when they see one. Don't be this guy or girl. Being honest is not only good for your customer, it's good for your company's reputation, and most of all, it's good for you. The temptation of short-term gains will ruin the chance of potential long-term relationships with others. This is because people talk, whether that's in the street, at business events, or networking. A bad reputation will precede you, no matter how good you think you are. It's time to stack the odds in your favour. It's literally impossible to gauge the market. Some believe the top salesmen are lucky. You may have heard the proverb, "the right place at the right time." Well, believe it or not, you can be there with them. Take sport, for example. A moment which wins the game only appears a handful of times in the game itself, whether that's a goal or a touchdown. It's the foundation or groundwork which leads to that moment which actually wins the game. The team's top scorer is celebrated as a hero because on the surface he won the game with his goal. However, all he did was the right things, so he was in the right place at the right time. It's exactly the same principle with selling, and you're the only person who can control this. Without self-discipline to work day in and day out, placing yourself in the position for the final result, a closing sale simply won't happen. It's time for you to step up and make a genuine connection with your client, because every transaction large or small, is rooted in a relationship between two people or two companies. This is exactly where you, as a person, comes in. When somebody buys your product or service, they haven't been blown over by the item alone. They have been wowed by you. You're the glue between a smooth or rough transaction. What if a problem occurs? Are you accessible, helpful, or friendly? More sales, whether that's large or small, involves an ongoing relationship. This is because a growing number of purchasers usually require post-sale support. In the modern world, it's extremely easy to communicate through technology. But we lose all elements of real human interaction. When money is exchanging hands, people generally want a connection. They want the safety net, and ultimately they want to know if they can trust you. I can suggest to you that everything you have ever learned about your product or service is only beneficial if it contributes in building a quality connection with your client or customer. Think of it this way: before somebody buys from you, you're independent from them. Like a wheel and an engine. They don't know you, and you don't know them. Once the two elements converge together, the engine makes the wheel spin. Thus, the trust has been gained. If a person or organisation feels they can't rely on you, then you can wave goodbye to any potential sale. But don't worry, I have ways you can combat any doubts from a prospective client and build a successful working relationship. Here are 6 factors which can build and sustain trust. If you always tell the truth, you can never be caught out lying. Once the honesty has been lost, a relationship will quickly demise. Finding things in common with another person is extremely important. It's one of the first elements in which trust can thrive upon. Humans naturally gravitate towards people with the same or similar interests. It's in our nature. You have always got to understand the other person's point of view, even if you don't necessarily agree. If you have promised the earth, then you better deliver it. Show that you can keep your promises, and a very fruitful relationship should flourish. Being consistent in both your behaviour and actions speaks volumes to any client. Be somebody who others can depend upon, and many more opportunities will open up. Always be grateful in admitting an error or failing on your part. Don't mess a client around. It will only make the situation 10 times worse. It can be highlighted that trustworthy people are committed, reliable, and responsible. They're often leaders and very effective in everything they do. Salespeople who see themselves as leaders will be far more likely to provide a client with a service or product necessary to achieve their goals or aims. Being a leader commands the notion of success, which in turn motivates their sales and ultimately their profits. From my experience, people who adopt a leader mentality are far less likely to need various closing techniques to make a sale. By knowing certain elements like this, you can begin to use this to your advantage in any sales pitch or meeting. This will help to oppose any doubts from potential customers and validate yourself as a leading expert within your industry. For example, recently I found myself dealing with a retail salesperson that was attempting to explain the benefits of an item I was looking to buy. I stood and pretended to listen, but really I wasn't taking any notice at all. The odd keyword I did hear sounded correct for the product he was explaining. But to be honest, I knew all the information when I read the literature that accompanied the product. As nasty as it may sound, I was more interested in how he couldn't close the sale. He didn't display any leadership attributes or show any confidence in what he was actually selling. Thus, I didn't trust or believe in the information that he was giving me. Ultimately, I doubted him, and I left the store without purchasing anything. In the end, we both just wasted our time. On reflection, I pondered over while the sale wasn't completed, and what made me get cold feet. He didn't have to be a sales pro or savvy. He just needed more confidence in what he was explaining. His uses of didn't fulfill me with assurance either. I hypothesized that he must have been new for his choke reaction rate to be so high. For those who don't know, a choke reaction rate is when a customer asks one or multiple questions and the salesperson stutters, unsure of what to say. They give the perception of being unprepared, lack of confidence, or even unprofessional. From this brief meeting, I would say that the best salespeople are actually overskilled or even overprepared, because they have done it countless times before. This means their choke reaction is muted, thus reinforcing their own confidence, expertise, and assurance to a potential client. From this, people obviously believe in them, and a sale gets closed much more easily. For example, here are two scenarios you may be familiar with. Scenario 1. Is this product good for spinal injuries in people over 65? Well, you see, the product is good for... How many units did you sell last year? The demand was high in large parts of the country. There's no real prospect of breaking into the market for me, is there? Scenario 2. Is this product good for spinal injuries in people over 65? Most definitely, it's currently being used in all major healthcare hubs nationwide. The response to the product has been fantastic, and many doctors are even recommending it to patients. How many units did you sell last year? We have sold over 4 million units worldwide to date. So, there's no real prospect of breaking into the market for me, is there? There certainly is. I have identified this town as a region we would like to expand further into. That's why I requested to meet you in person. Out of the scenarios just given, which salesperson are you going to purchase from? Like tying a shoelace, you have to practice, practice and practice. And if at first you don't succeed, you keep on trying. As a salesperson, you have to display elements of credibility. If you don't project any knowledge or confidence in what you're selling, how can a client have any confidence or belief in you or your product? It's time that you banish all your fears about not being worthy of the dream job you want, the promotion you crave, or the lifestyle you wish to live. Recognize that you do have the ability to sell and be proud of the fact that it's your profession. I'm going to tell you the secret to success right now. It's one word and everybody has heard of it. The word is failure. A failure can affect even the best of the best. But you know what? It's okay to take risks and sometimes fail. It's the failures that will lead you to success in the future. A great way to build confidence and minimize the element of failure is to learn what you're selling and improve your credibility. By working on your inner foundation to unlock your full potential. By building your inner foundation, your confidence will shine through in everything that you do. It's recommended that you take a look and read my cycle diagram of confidence selling. The confidence selling cycle is incredibly effective for getting good at doing just about anything. You firstly practice your skills. In other words, you practice your sales pitch and redefine every element you think may or may not help you. Secondly, you apply these skills at a sales meeting or presentation and then review the results. For example, did you make a sale? Once you have done this, you simply modify as needed. Certain parts of a pitch may work fantastically well. Other parts may need excluding altogether. However, only you can make these decisions based on the results or feedback you have received. It's important to note that the confidence selling cycle will only work if you're confident in yourself and your own abilities. Sometimes people don't realise they're not only selling a product or service, they're also selling themselves. The concept of selling yourself can at times have negative connotations attached to it. In a competitive market, it's important to find a way to stand out from any competition, as this is where your self-confidence and knowing who you are as a person come into play. All the top salespeople know how to project themselves in the correct way. They know their unique selling points, and for competing sales professionals, it can be hard to break into a charismatic arena. The top salesmen and women all have these elements in common. They're magnetic, dynamic, charming, and friendly. They ultimately lure a potential client in, like bait does to a fish. Some think they're born with this God-given gift to sell. However, the successful selling has already begun before they have even entered a meeting or a sales pitch environment. It begins in their heads. Your brain is both your best asset and in some cases your number one enemy. What do you think you're good at? What do you excel at? What do other people think you're good at? What do other people know you're good at? What do you think you're bad at? What are you bad at? What do other people think you're bad at? What do other people know you're bad at? You may be asking, how is this going to help me? By watching other people, I have quickly realised that knowing both your strengths and weaknesses increases not only your knowledge and skills, but it ultimately increases your value. It's very similar to a battery-operated television remote. Without a battery, it won't operate. The battery is both its strength and its weakness. Close your eyes and remember a time in your life when you reached a goal, whether that's passing an exam or winning a race. Think of this accomplishment and picture yourself achieving. Whenever you feel in doubt of your abilities, do this to give yourself a confidence boost. Like all things in life, there'll be times when a sale has fallen through, or doors will be closed in your face. However, this is the time when you need to listen to yourself and ride out the wave. Even the most successful salespeople face rejections, and lots of them. It's the nature in how they bounce back which truly counts. Believe it or not, over the years I have faced countless rejections in my life, from personal relationships to job opportunities to business-related deals. However, I have never given in, no matter how bad it became. The best feeling was to see the look on some of my rejectors' faces when I actually succeeded and reached my goal. I showed them with my positive actions. These principles I adopted is the same principles you need to adopt. Confidence is the one of the keys to success. It unlocks a door for you to pass through. Start working on your confidence today for a better future tomorrow. The more you like yourself, the more you will sell. The more you like other people, the more they will buy from you. Liking yourself is one of the most important elements everybody should possess. In general, it's known that we don't use more than 10% of our potential. That leaves the remaining 90% untapped. It's this remaining 90% that you should attempt to unlock. By doing just an extra 5%, you will already have more ability, strength, knowledge, and power than the majority of your competitors. From this, there is a direct relationship between your inner concept and your performance metrics. The more you believe you will succeed, the more likely you are going to succeed. You may be aware of the inner concept you possess. Buried deep inside, we all have a concept of how we should be. Whether that's the perfect son, daughter, husband, wife, and so on. Deep inside, we have a perception of how good we are at selling or how bad we are at selling. This theory also applies to how we dress, how we speak, how we engage, and how we interact. These are all concepts in our mind, and usually how we think we act and how we do act are completely different. For some, it can be a great idea to film or record themselves, or even to look in the mirror to study your movements, your mannerisms, and how you portray yourself. Do you look like a person who you would want to do business with? Do you appear friendly? Know yourself and be happy with who you are. From this, we can then decipher where and how things might be going wrong. Usually, if we're bad at something, we attempt to avoid it. If we're good at something, we want to do it more. This reinforcement of being good builds our confidence, makes us happy, builds relationships, and ultimately builds success. Have you ever noticed when somebody is happy, more seems to happen for them? Whether that's personal relationships, business relationships, or otherwise, more opportunities become available the more positive we are. When approaching a sale, if you think you're going to stumble, swallow your tongue, or shake with nerves, you most likely will. The theory is you need to start believing anything you put your mind to is possible. Because with this mentality, you won't be able to limit yourself to a mediocre existence. We all have an idea, image, or concept of who we were, who we currently are, and who we would like to be. This limiting notion is detrimental to any professional. You now need to wipe the slate clean and forget about the past or the future. Focus on the right here, right now. Start today and say to yourself, I like myself, I like my hair, I like my smile, I like my clothes, I like my teeth, I'm a great salesman, I'm a great business owner, or whatever it is you want to say. Say it and repeat it. Before you go into a meeting, presentation, or sales pitch, repeat it over and over in your head, because the more you say it, the more your brain thinks it's fact, thus making you more confident in everything you wish to achieve. From this, other elements will begin to emerge from positive feelings, body language, gestures, and so on. You will become an unstoppable force. Do you know that there's actually not much difference between people who sell thousands and thousands of products against people who sell none? They don't necessarily have any superpower skills. They believe in themselves, they learn, and they adapt themselves, so they're positioned in a place to succeed. We all have the concept of ourselves in our minds that tells us what we think our limitations and strengths are, rather than what they actually are. Be fully aware that we also possess an income meter. You may be asking, what do I mean by this? Well, an income meter is the theory that once a person earns their conceptual level of income, they suddenly stop selling. So, for example, if Tony wanted to earn $30,000 in 1 year and he earned $31,000 by October, he would have trouble selling anything else for November and December, because in his mind he has achieved his goal. This is equally like people who sell great for 1 week, doubling their expected target, then the week after they struggle to sell anything at all. This can be a common problem for sales professionals and business owners. Ultimately, it's not the product at fault. It's not particularly the customer's fault. It's all down to the person who is selling the product. In our minds, we have reached the safety net we wanted to. We have programmed ourselves to believe this is the finishing line, and our bodies simply can't produce anything more. This is the X factor which separates the elite professional from the average professional. Which one do you want to be? Working on yourself is a very important element in getting exactly what you want. I can say with confidence that a potential client reacts from 3 main body elements: 60% in body language, 32% in tone of voice, and 8% in the words that you use. As described earlier, a first impression can literally be the make or break before you have even sat down in your seat. It can be said, if your image isn't helping you, it's hurting you. As harsh as it may sound, humans are naturally programmed to assume. Somebody who takes pride in both their dress sense and grooming habits is a more stable, reliable, and trustworthy person, making them a more likely person you want to deal with. There are 4 main principles to conveying the correct body language in any sales environment. Walk and move with confidence and strength. Don't shuffle along. Walk with a purpose. This should convey the message of a busy, confident, and effective person. When you meet somebody new, always give a full handshake. A half handshake, usually the fingers instead of the full palm, can suggest half a man or half a person. A full, firm handshake represents a good character, which in turn gives the impression of a good product or service. This can make your client believe in you before you have even opened your mouth. Always dress smart no matter what the occasion. Even in semi-casual environments, people who look sharp and mean business have far higher success rate than those who don't. Remember to look the person you're talking to directly in the eye to portray confidence and stability, both in yourself and the product you're selling. In general, we're greatly influenced by the body language of the people who we're speaking to. It's always recommended to sit straight, leaning slightly forward so you stay alert and be fully engaged both mentally and physically. The way in which a person sits is subconsciously assessed. Leaning forward conveys importance and value, whereby leaning against the back of a chair highlights a relaxed and uncaring demeanour. It can be a great idea to deliberately keep your arms unfolded and your hands open if your client's hands are crossed. Pass them some literature or something to hold to so they are open too. Furthermore, there are signs you need to look for in a potential client. When their legs are crossed, it usually means they're holding back information. If you notice their legs are crossed at the ankle, this means they're usually not telling you everything you need to know. Opening up a client's defensive body language can really make a difference in closing a potential sale. Work on your own body language and look out for the signs I have shared and experiment with this when closing your next deal. Ultimately, the more work you can do to improve yourself, the better chance you will have of becoming a successful salesperson. It's also important to remember you can't be successful if you don't challenge yourself and set goals. The best of the best constantly set goals for themselves and they achieve them. They have the ability to visualize what they want. They logically formulate a strategy and go after their dreams. Some people mistakenly believe that top-performing salespeople have the gift of the gab, when in fact it's the most organized people who are the most successful. If you want to reach the top, you must have the drive to succeed. Think of the famous proverb, "You won't know till you try." Everything in life is a risk, from going to university to driving a car. To succeed, you have to step outside of your comfort zone, because taking smart risks is how great opportunities are discovered. Networking is a critical element for any entrepreneur or sales professional. Without connections in the right places, how are you going to succeed? Generate hype or chase new leads? It can be a great idea to review exactly what you want to achieve from networking. Are you looking to expand your client base? Are you wanting feedback from fellow professionals, or are you just seeing what's out there? It doesn't matter to me what you want from networking, but it could make a huge difference for you. Networking isn't a quick strategy. It's a method which needs approaching for long-term goals rather than short-term gains. Start by building relationships with people in your chosen industry. Who is the press guy or girl? Who is the buyer for the company? Who is the executive? And so on. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or have been in business for years. Networking with confidence can open a lot of doors if you network with the correct people. Depending on your industry, you'll be surprised at how many people may actually want to help you. Go to the places they go to. Trade shows, events, business meetings. You have to put yourself out there. Make them know you exist. And while you're there, start building a list. In general, networking can be likened to selling. It's personal. Don't let any contacts, no matter how big or small, go to waste. Don't rule anybody out because you think they can't help you or you can't sell to them right now. Just because you can't sell to them today doesn't mean you won't be able to tomorrow. You never know who somebody knows, so always keep an open mind in all situations you encounter. Here's an example of a networking list you should be creating. Name, company, phone number, email, date of contact, follow-up action. A good tip is to follow up by phone 1 week after the initial contact. Typically, a follow-up by email is easier. However, the opportunity to build your relationship increases with human-to-human contact rather than computer-to-computer. You should note that you need to convey your company message to everyone you're networking with. Remember, they don't know you, so tell them exactly what your purpose is, exactly what you're looking for, and ultimately, if everything is going well, exactly what you want. Always take the opportunity to expand your network list. Impress your contact and they will tell people they already know about you. So in theory, you're networking with the networker's network. Confusing but extremely powerful. A personal recommendation can be fantastic for you because the person you have already networked with is telling their contact, "Hey, you should check out this person. I've worked with them and they're good to work with." From humble beginnings, a tree-like structure begins to emerge as branches blossom from all directions. Be smart, be organised, and make use of this excellent technique. All the tips I've highlighted in this section will only work if you want them to work. Usually, success doesn't magically appear overnight. That's why you need resilience no matter what challenges are thrown towards you. It takes time, patience, and practice. However, you can achieve your goals and ambitions. All it takes is a little belief. So what are you waiting for? Study your product and learn all the features and benefits thoroughly, so you're capable of answering detailed questions from potential customers. Do your homework on any potential client. Pore over their websites, literature, shops or outlets. Visit as a customer and learn as much as you can. From this, you can then establish how your product and service can be best utilised for their purpose. The more benefits you can highlight, the better chance you have at closing a sale. It's easy for salespeople to lose control of any negotiation. It happens to the best of the best. Always keep a potential customer on track by talking about the features and benefits your product or service can provide for them. It has been suggested that a salesperson feels more confident when they maintain in control of a sales situation. Be alert to any latest trends in your sector so you know that what you're selling is what your customers want. If you know the market, you will have confidence in what you're selling and what your product offers against competitors. Always approach networking with confidence. Networking is a great opportunity, so don't waste it. In general, networking is about exchanging value. However, you can use this to your advantage in the correct circumstances. Creating a plan and having a networking strategy will be beneficial and make your networking more effective. Build up a solid relationship with the person you have networked with. In time, try and get personal recommendations to expand your network further.